Hi everyone. On today's episode of Cooking with Hot Diarrhea, we're going to take some frozen Chinese and dehydrate it, but there are some things that need to be done. It's not as simple as it sounds, so stay tuned. So I have microwaved each of these two meals, and what I'm trying to do now is basically just mix it really well so that any of the sauce and the meat and the rice and everything basically gets a little bit more consistent and a little bit more complete and mixed together. And then what I'm going to do is spread this on the parchment paper on one of my dehydrator trays. Now, there is a reason why I'm doing two. Each of these has only 380 calories for 10 ounces. Now, for those of you who are not going to be hiking the trail with us, or you've never hiked through hikes or long hikes or anything like that, something that we have done research on and that we've discovered is that the sweet spot as far as the calories per ounce goes, it needs to be roughly 100 to 125 calories, so ideally 125 and higher. So I've already put one container of the beef broccoli on the tray, and now I'm going to do the other one. I don't know if you can hear it while I'm putting it on, but it's a very wet, I would even say, even though some people might cringe at this word, it's a very wet, even moist mixture, obviously because of all the sauce and everything that's in it. But also, if you can kind of look, let me see if I can do it. So as I'm packing down, you see how it sort of is paste-like? It's not loose rice at all because of the sauce and everything else that's in it. So I can kind of shape it into whatever form I want to and then pull it out as basically one piece, like I just did there. So let me get all that out. But kind of what I want, ideally, for this, and yes, I'm trying to get every little bit out because these are calories. These are going to be needed calories on the 100-mile wilderness and all the way through New Hampshire and Vermont. And after that, we'll see. So I've got it here kind of nicely. Actually, I want to mix this a little bit better because I don't want to have just a bunch of rice. I'd rather have other things mixed in too. And so essentially what I'm going to do now is just start spreading it out a little bit more thinly. And the reason I like a paste type consistency is because it does spread really well, but it also holds its shape. You'll notice that I'm using parchment paper on the dehydrator tray, and that's because you've got these little pieces of rice, and I just don't want them to fall through the slits. I mean, you can see the way that some of these are, that they're just going to slide through. They're going to fall through if I just laid it on there as it is, without me even, pressing down and trying to get things as kind of as even as possible. Something else I'm going to try to do as I'm doing this, and right now it's kind of easy, but as I spread things over for a little more, it's going to be a little more difficult. I'm going to try to create a visual separation. Ooh, we got a lot of broccoli there, which is going to be nice. I'm going to try to create a visual separation between the two servings. Granted, in reality on the trail, like I mentioned a little while ago, many calories as possible. So 380 calories here, that's really not going to be enough for an actual meal. Whoever eats this is probably going to have to eat all of this for 760, almost 800 calories, because that's how many calories we're going to be needing when we're out there on the trail, burning up 4,000 calories a day in some cases, depending on what kind of work we're doing and how many hills we have to deal with and all that kind of thing. So I think this is set up pretty well. So really my next step is just to set it on the dehydrator and go. Now normally what I might do with some of these bigger pieces is I might try to cut them up, put them on my cutting board and actually cut them up a little bit so that they're not so big, because what I found is that the bigger pieces don't dehydrate all that well. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put that right back there because that's just a piece. But the bigger pieces don't tend to dehydrate all that well. as well as smaller pieces. And so normally I would take some of this and cut it up, but kind of I just want to experiment with this just to see what happens if I leave it roughly like this. Sometimes if I have really, really big pieces, I'll put the food in my food processor and just pulse it a few times, maybe up to 20 times if needed, just to get everything smaller, more consistent size pieces before I put it on the dehydrator.
This is branded MSK here. With the skirmishes here. And these are great, they're pretty simple, and they're pretty light, okay? That's a great thing too. Again, especially if you're dealing with the first time doing that, these are light. This is for like hard pack or, any kind of snug that's right here. You can pop these on. I'm not going to demonstrate these, but these are pretty simple and all that. There's another option for like getting out there in the woods. You can do it around town too. Like I said, it's got these spikes here. And actually, in the little, put your foot in here, essentially articulate. You can see that little grab right there. So if you're going up any kind of confined in the area, you can get up a little safer. So those are two options just to make you safer. You might be placed to use this around town and things like that if it's a little icy or hard pack. Don't want you to have to fall. So those are the kind of footwear, onto any kind of shoe like that. There's a lot of